This meeting is being recorded.
All right, welcome out to another episode of the Gridiron 64 podcast. Is being brought to you tonight, this evening by GT Sports. This is episode number 51, where tonight we'll recap the 2022 3A Division 2, Region 4, District 16. That's the Taft Greyhounds, Hebbronville Longhorns, the Georgia West Longhorns, the Banquete Bulldogs, the Odem Owls, Monte Alto Blue Devil, and the Santa Rosa Warriors. On the screen, I got both of my partners here this evening as we recap this division. On the top screen, you got the Big T, Tony Pena. How you doing, Big T?
Oh man, doing good. Ready to get another week down.
All right, and then on the
Talk some
bottom
football.
screen, there you go. And then on the bottom screen, they got the man, the voice, right, of South Texas, TJ Riddell, Riddell. TJ, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. Ready to talk about some football here. Talk about Taft Greyhounds. Talk about just the amount of talent that's in this district is unbelievable. I cannot wait to talk about this district.
It is.
Here. And we got some coaches that love this podcast now, and they have made their voices known about my list. So we're going to talk a little bit about their boys real quick. So
That's awesome. And I am excited about talking about this district. There's some really good teams. This year, this district was really good. I think it's going to be better next year. We're also going to talk about some coaching news. After we recap it, I know Rockport here in my hometown, we have hired our new athletic director, head football coach. He was announced just about an hour or so ago. So we'll definitely talk a little bit about that. I know that TJ will talk a little bit about Miller. Justin Evans has hired his offensive coordinator over there. I saw that today. So we'll definitely talk a little bit about that as well. But we'll get started here with our teams that we're going to recap here. And we'll start off with the district champs. That was the Taft Greyhounds. We've had the coach here on the Gridiron a few times. And I love Coach Castellano, and I think he's done one heck of a job there at Taft. He's got some talent, and this year they went all the way to the third round. He's got one of the best quarterbacks coming back next year in South Texas, probably in the state of Texas. He's coming back for his senior year, so we're definitely going to be talking about him. He's put up some big numbers, but not just was it his quarterback, JJ Acosta, guys, but the Taft Greyhounds in general. They had a receiver that was really lights out. The defense got a lot better as the year progressed. That this team got a lot better. So the assistant coaches that Coach Castellano has out there did a great job. This is the first time they've won district, and I don't know how long. So I know that they're pumped up out there. They got that monkey off their back, right? Finally being able to be the district champs. They'll have a tough time. They'll have a big challenge next year, right? With these teams, everybody's going to be gunning for the Taft Greyhounds. So Tony, I'll pass it over to you first. Your thoughts on the Taft Greyhounds, man? I mean, you guys know I love the Greyhounds here. We love the Greyhounds here. The one guy that kind of would bum it out, right? We just threw him over to another podcast, so he's not on the Gridiron anymore. You guys know what we're talking about, right? But no, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Yeah,
he's not allowed in Taft anymore, I think.
Yeah. We're talking about the Z-Man, Johnny Zavala. Now I'm just talking. Johnny's great, man, but he gives us a little hard time. I like to give him a hard time, but he's on another podcast. But no, the Taft Greyhounds, they've been great. They were really great going undefeated in district play. They've got their top guy, JJ Acosta. They're going to lose their receiver team, but they do got the main man, the quarterback, which is the most important position, I believe, in football. I don't know everybody they got coming back. Your thoughts on the year that they had in 2022, and do you see this team early on becoming back-to-back district champs in 2023, Tony?
Well, I tell you what, I know Taft has been trying to get that crown from Odem for a while. And I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at my picks from this past football season, and I did have Odem at the 1 spot and Taft in the 2 spot, but not because I like Odem, just because Odem has been proven year after year that they're the team to beat. But Taft pulled it off this year, and man, did it in a big way. JJ Acosta passing for over 4,200 yards and 40 touchdowns. That's just phenomenal. Passing for over 71%. So you get somebody like that coming back. Looking at their roster, they do lose a few seniors, but they got some promising juniors coming back. You got let's see, Acosta. I mean, you look at what he did on the ground. He had 1,500 more yards on the ground and 12 more touchdowns on the ground. So I think Taft's looking pretty good. I do see that with the JJ Acosta and that coach over there. I think Taft's going to be in a pretty good position to win it again. I really do. It's going to be tough for another team to come in and just take the crown from them, but they're the team to beat next year.
So you heard it here on the ground, Tony. Now I'm not going to ask Tony to make a prediction unless he wants to already make his prediction. I'm sure he still wants to wait up a little bit and do more. Or do you want to make it right now? Are you confident enough to say Taft's going to be district champs next year?
I will say that Taft is the team to beat right now at this time.
All right. So he's going to wait on his predictions, but he should wait until anything can happen between now and then. Anything can happen. So it's always good to wait until summertime, closer to start of football season. TJ, I'll turn it over to you. I know you and I have talked a lot about Taft. I know we've talked. We interviewed Coach Castellano. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job over there. But, is JJ Acosta, I got to tell you, is he the best quarterback in the Coastal Bend area? I mean, is he in 2022 with his numbers and his stats and what he did? He took Taft to the third round. And even though Taft got beat in the third round, pretty good by a really good team, he and that receiver connected. He did good things there. Even against a tough defense, this guy still shined. Now the team didn't win, right? But they didn't shut him down completely. If you look at his stats, your thoughts on this kid, and is JJ Acosta the best quarterback that we got right now in the Coastal Bend area?
As far as the best quarterback in South Texas in the Coastal Bend, absolutely. I think he is the most accurate and the most dynamic quarterback that we have down here in the Coastal Bend. I mean, I will tell you this too, man. Josh Suarez. I know I didn't. This was a hot topic. I didn't have him on my list, on my top 10 list. But he had well over 1,500 yards at 1,871 receiving yards with a 111 receptions with 23 receiving touchdowns. 23.
Yeah.
And Acosta threw for 40 with 6 interceptions. That is insane. That's college football numbers right there, man. And I'm talking D1 level. JJ Acosta is a dangerous dual threat. I love what I see out of this kid. He's a better human outside or off the field from what Coach Castellanos has told us and what we've seen through Acosta in game. I mean, he's just primed and focused. Even though they lost to both in that matchup that they had in the third round, he was still focused. That team was still focused. I see a lot of good things coming out of Taft, but they are losing a lot of receivers next year. Mainly Suarez, but they are getting back their junior number 11, Rodriguez. He had almost 1,000 yards receiving with 56 receptions and 7 touchdowns. So we might see Rodriguez with Suarez's numbers, maybe even better. We don't know yet. But I will tell you this: their defense has really stepped it up over the last few games after that Mathis game, and their offense stepped up after the 8 turnovers that they had against Mathis. They really stepped it up a notch, and they just really played at a high level right after that. And until they met up with Poth, I mean Poth, they were at state for a reason. So, but I will say this: they are losing Ozuna, who had 8 sacks this season, number 1. They're losing him, but they are getting back Perez, who had 3 sacks, and Gomez, who had 2. And their sophomore, who's going to be a junior next season, number 10, Davis, he had 2 sacks this season. I mean, they're reloading next year, and I think they might be good next season. They've had a district championship drought since 1986, guys.
Wow.
1986,
It's the last time they won district, right?
last time they won district.
Wow. That's yeah, they're happy
So
down there in Taft.
so now instead of being the hunters, they're being the hunted. And we've seen it before where a team, I mean, it's basically a TCU story. If y'all kept up with college football at all, uh, it's pretty much the same story as TCU with Taft right now. They're they hit on all cylinders. They have a really good quarterback. They have a really good wide receiving core. Great offensive coaching staff. Great defensive coaching staff. I mean, and they surprised everybody. They surprised everybody. I don't even remember who I had at number one. Um, I I do want to say I did have Taft close, though. I do want to say that. I would have
Tony,
to
where
go
was
check.
he at, Tony? You have the list there. Where was TJ at? Do you have him or do you just have yours? I can't hear you. You got to bring your thing down there.
Oh man. But
T, you got to bring your thing down. If you can hear me,
Oh, my bad. I don't got it.
you don't have it.
No, I didn't start writing y'all's down until Division 1, 2A.
Okay.
no worries. But I will say this. With JJ Acosta coming back, I have no doubt that the Greyhounds are going to do great this season, and they got some offensive linemen that are coming back too, so that's a good thing for Taft as well. So uh, watch out for the Greyhounds this season. They are coming in full force. You know, I am really impressed with JJ Acosta. So I I I have a lot of high expectations for this kid next season, and I think everybody else as well. Everybody's looking at this kid as the next big product since Andrew Body uh, in the Coastal Bend. So
Yeah, I think TJ, you have to put him up there with Bot. I mean, his numbers don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie. I mean,
yeah,
this guy puts it
I
up.
think he
You
might
put
be better.
you
I
put
think he might be better.
yeah, you heard Tony.
Honestly,
Yeah, you heard Tony talk about his yardage. I mean, this guy's the real deal. I mean, he can do it all. I mean, he can pass, he can run. I mean, he's defenses. He can give defensive coordinators, a headache trying to manage this kid, right? Because he can do so many things. And the thing is, if Tap has talent, if you put talent around Acosta, he's going to hurt you. I mean, he just
oh
is.
man,
At what you've seen. So what we've seen in his sophomore year, and I interviewed him after a game his sophomore year, and he was impressive to me then. And then we go over to the junior year, right, which he was better than his sophomore year. So the trend has been getting better every year. So you would expect that his senior year, if the talent is around him, his numbers are going to be better than they are this year, which is really scary to think, right? So here on the gridiron, we're definitely going to be paying attention to JJ Acosta and those Taft Greyhounds. And because we want to hear, we definitely, if he's putting up big numbers, we definitely want to let the area know, what this kid is doing out there in Taft. So expectations for the Greyhounds are going to be big. Of course, the question mark coming in this year was they struggled a little bit on defense. You heard Castellano talk a little bit about the changes that they had to make. But whatever they did out there definitely worked. So that'll be another question mark, I think, going in is how well will that defense be early on? But if they can manage to continue to start this season the way they finished it, and then that offense continues to roll, I don't see why this team can't win back-to-back district titles, which will be great. We shall see, man. We got a couple of months, but definitely a great 2022 year for the Taft Greyhounds. Their record was 10-3 in 2022. They went undefeated 6-0 in district play. We'll talk about the second team in this district. Guys, I don't know if it was Hebbronville that was second or was it Santa Rosa. Can one of you guys tell
it
me?
was Hebbronville.
Okay. So they have,
Hebbronville was 6-7 and 5-1 in district. The
okay.
only team they lost to was Taft. But
What was the
mind if I
score?
take-
What was, yeah, no, I don't mind. What was the score on that game, TJ? Was it
well,
close?
let's go over their schedule first, and then I'll talk about that game.
Okay.
So Hebbronville, they were 6-7 overall. 5-1 in district. Nobody thought this team would make it to the playoffs in the non-conference or non-district schedule. They started off against Orange Grove, lost 53-0. They got wiped out against Orange Grove. Then they took on Falfurrias, lost 18-6. Okay, 0-2 start, a little shaky start for Hebbronville. Then they faced Carrizo Springs, where they lost 31-18. Then everybody's thinking, what is going on with Hebbronville right now? 0-3 Hebbronville? That's not right. Then they played against Lyford. They only got a safety against Lyford and lost 28-2. So that was their non-district schedule right there. An 0-4 schedule. Now you go and play against Banquete. They win their first game of the season 38-20. Then they play against George West. They beat them 35-21 at George West. Then they took on Odem at home, and Odem barely lost this game 34-33 against Hebbronville. Now we get to Taft, and JJ Acosta and the Greyhounds just lit up the scoreboard against Hebbronville 48-13. That was their only district loss. They barely scraped by Santa Rosa 14-7, and then they beat Monte Alto 48-6, and they finished second in district. Then we get to the first round of the playoffs where they took on Natalia. Now Natalia's a hit or miss type of team. That they're either decent or they're going to be bad in the playoffs, which in this case they were pretty bad. 40-14 against the Hebbronville Longhorns. The Longhorns make it to the second round to take on Wallace Brazos. And they get smoke checked by Wallace Brazos 42-15. I don't have any player stats, but I could give you the names of the guys that you need to watch out for this upcoming season. Now, Sammy Cadena is a top prospect for Hebbronville. You don't have a whole lot of stats on this guy. They only put 1 or 2 games for Max Preps. This is the problem with Max Preps. They don't put all the stats on there. It's a strategic thing. I get it. They are losing their star quarterback, Garza. He's a senior, number 4. Actually, they're losing all 3 of their quarterbacks. And then their running backs, they are getting back Perez, though. Number 13 for Hebbronville. So watch out for Perez, number 13. And Benavides as well. And then you got on the receiving end, there wasn't a whole lot of receivers. And Perez is the only junior that I see on here, or underclassmen on here. And there's 5 guys. So 4 out of the 5 is leaving. So you on offense, you got a lot of guys leaving. And there's not defensive stats. So Hebbronville started off a shaky start just like Port Lavaca, and then just played well in district, and then they played well in the first round. So it wasn't as impressive as Port Lavaca's turnaround, but it was still a good turnaround for the Hebbronville Longhorns. And I think this team's going to be they're missing a lot of seniors, so this is going to be probably going to be a down year for the Hebbronville Longhorns.
Yeah, I think when you consider Taft and what they got coming back, I think it's going to be hard for Hebbronville to beat a Taft team, the district champs, right? So we'll see what happens. But when you lose that many seniors in the quarterback, unless they've got a stud that's coming up that can just take over, it's probably going to be a struggling year. We'll see what happens to Hebbronville in district, but I think the district is going to be better. I think George West is going to be better next year than they were this year. I think Odem will rebound next year as well. Banquete, I think, will be better. So we may see Hebbronville, if they make the playoffs, down a little bit from second. You never know, right? But possibly. Tony, your thoughts on Hebbronville and what TJ's saying, with all of the quarterbacks and some of the seniors. You know, what's your thoughts on this team? And were you surprised? Where did you pick Hebbronville at? Were they a team that you picked in the playoffs?
Yes, I was surprised. I did have them at number 4, and I had them making the playoffs, and only because Odom has been doing what they've been doing year after year. So I had them at number 1, and then I had Tapped at number 2, and then I really thought George West was going to end up at number 3, and then I put Hebbronville in the playoffs, only because the previous year they went 9-2, 5-1 in district. So I thought that they'd be able to come into this district and at least make the playoffs. And I will say that I'm very surprised that they made the playoffs with the way they started. Just like TJ noted, going in 0-4 and then making the playoffs is a pretty good turnout for that team. But yeah, I looked at the roster, and they do have a lot of seniors, so it's gonna be tough. Playing in the same district. I know Odom's hungry. Odom doesn't like finishing fourth. Where they ended up fourth, or did they not make the playoffs? I
I
don't
think
remember
they were
Odom.
they were
They
the
didn't make the
sixth.
playoffs.
They
They
didn't make the
only
playoffs.
won one
Yeah.
game.
Oh shoot, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Odom's not used to being at the bottom of the barrel, so I think Odom's gonna have a rebuilding year. Well, I think this previous season was their rebuilding year, and I
Yeah.
think they'll be better next year. So I'm still gonna put Odom in the playoffs. But Hebbronville's gonna have some work to do in this district because it's tough. With we already see what Taft's got coming back. So we'll see what Hebbronville does, but when you graduate a bunch of seniors, it's always tough. So we'll see what they do.
Especially when most of those seniors is kind of like your quarterback room, right? Like TJ was saying, most of the quarterbacks are gone. So man, you don't even have a guy that you can step in. You're losing, your backup quarterbacks as well. So it could be a difficult. It's going to be a challenge for Heaven, but we'll see what happens in 2023, guys. The third place team in this district was the Santa Rosa Warriors. I believe they went 7-4 overall, 4-2 in district play. Tony, I'll go back to you here real quick. Your thoughts? I know you said did you have Santa Rosa? I didn't even think I had these guys in the playoffs, to be honest with you. I didn't know much about them, but they do make the playoffs as the third place team. So your thoughts on this team? Any surprises for you?
Yeah. I didn't know much about Santa Rosa, and I didn't have them in the playoffs. Looking at the teams that they played, I mean, really got smoked on some of their big games, and some of their other games were kind of close. I mean, they were
Well, they
they
lost
were
it.
very what's up?
They lost to Taft, right? But if you look at that Hebbronville, they lost by a touchdown. Hebbronville barely beat them. The second place team barely beat them before. I mean, it was like 14-7, I believe. Taft
Yeah,
smoked them.
and then you got Nixon Smiley in the first round playoffs. They barely lost to Nixon Smiley, and they're usually pretty darn good. So
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
T.
I think they improved after the Taft game for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, they got a big win against Progresso. Let's see.
big win over.
Yeah, man. I didn't know much about Santa Rosa coming into this game, so for them to make the playoffs, I did not pick them because I didn't think they could make the playoffs. I didn't pick them because the teams that I picked, I knew, and I knew what they were about, and I knew the talent that they've had in the previous years. And I've been rooting. I don't know why. I've been rooting for George West to do something. I keep picking George West to win games, and I keep taking losses. But I have a feeling that they're going to do something eventually. I do. But Santa
You
Rosa, the
sure you're
team, and I
not
will just
cursing
say
them,
that
Tony?
I will
Sounds
say
like
that I
a
am
curse.
surprised that they made the playoffs just because to me, I think this is a tough district with the teams that are in there with Odom not knowing they were gonna not win a game, Taft, Georgia West, and Hebbronville. So for Santa Rosa to finish up in the playoffs, that's pretty good. Uh, Man, they did it with a junior and a freshman quarterback.
Mhm.
Freshman quarterback didn't get a lot of touches. only played 3 games as quarterback, but he has some stats. So this is a promising team. Looking at the roster, very,
Yeah.
very promising. Freshmen, sophomores, bunch of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, just a few seniors. So this might be a team to watch out for next year.
Yeah.
Just because we kind of got shocked by the kind of turnout they had this year. So we'll see. Santa Rosa is definitely going to be a team to watch out for 3A Division II.
TJ, I gotta agree with Tony. I think they're gonna be in the hunt again. I don't think they'll win a district title though. I just don't see that happening. But I do think they'll get in the
A lot of
playoffs.
guys coming back. They got
Yeah,
a lot of guys coming back.
Yeah, they
that
do.
that that
They
is
do.
true. But I
They
think
do have a lot of guys coming back, but I don't think they'll be able to.
I don't think they're better than Tam. I don't think they'll be better than Odom either.
No, I don't think they'll be able to match up well against Taft, honestly. And Odom is going to be smelling for blood. They might be owls, but they're going to be like sharks in this district next year. I'm telling you. And George West too. I mean, we're about to see what George West is about too. But Santa Rosa, to me, the reason why I didn't pick them in the playoffs, I know for a fact I didn't pick them in the playoffs, is based off of the last few seasons that they had. This was probably one of their best seasons in quite some time. So
Mhm.
I was very shocked that they even made it to the playoffs to begin with. And actually competing well against Nixon Smiley too. That's really surprising and really concerning if you're anybody in this district. And the amount of guys that are coming back, my goodness, uh, they're not going to be clinging the bottles and saying Warriors come out to play. They're going to be the the guys saying the team name and clinking the bottles and asking them to play because this Warrior team is going to smack people in the face, and
They've opened up
that
some eyes this year for sure, TJ. They
they're
have opened up
definitely
some
going to
eyes.
open up.
We better be paying attention to this team next year.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. We may not know much about them, but we're going to learn a heck of a lot more about this team. Uh, this Santa Rosa team. They seem like tough cats, so we'll see.
Yeah, like I said, they barely beat Odom, right? I mean, the second place team in this district, which was Hebbronville, it was a really close game, 14-7. Then you talk about their playoff game with Nixon Smiley, right? And they lost by a touchdown, I think. So this team, with what you say, and you heard Tony talk about the quarterback situation. I don't think they'll be able to beat Taft next year because I just think Taft is just ahead of them offensively, right? But this team again will be in the playoffs. They may beat Hebbronville. This definitely going to be a team's going to be in the mix for the playoffs. It's going to be a good district next year, but the district's going to be good next year with all these teams. But definitely Santa Rosa, they'll be fighting for another playoff spot. And from what we know right now, I think this team definitely, we can't count them
Could
out.
be
Obviously,
could be a close second right there.
it's going to be
Uh,
good.
it could be a close second, but not if this next team pulls away with it.
Well, and let's talk about that. It was the fourth place team. It was the George West Longhorns. They went 4-6 overall. They went 3-3 in district play. A very young team, finally getting back in the playoffs. This team, for the last couple of years, has really been struggling down there. This year, in a tough district, and I was paying attention to them toward the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they were able to get the wins that they needed to get in. I think this is a win for George West just to get into the playoffs. They've got some young guys. I think that they're going to be, better. Next year, TJ. So I'll go to you. Did you have George West picked, and how surprised were you that this team made the playoff in this tough district?
I believe I was. I think I had them short of the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not that surprised that they sprung up to play. But they are losing a key player, and that's their starting quarterback Snyder, who had 65 completions, 125 attempts, 979 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, which is okay numbers for those are Tim Tebow numbers because he's a running quarterback as well. 102 carries, 732 rushing yards, 7.2 yards per carry, and he had 11 touchdowns and he'll be missed. But they are getting a young man, Collins, who is a sophomore, who had thrown the ball quite a bit. 26 completions for 68 attempts, 253 passing yards, and he did throw one touchdown, but threw two interceptions. So it's a learning curve for this young man uh, on on the varsity level. But they are getting back Zuniga, who was a close, who was the rushing leader as far as underclassmen with 395 yards rushing with 106 carries. I believe he's their fullback. George West fans, correct me if I'm wrong. Number 15, Zuniga. But he did have 9 touchdowns this season. So with him coming back, it's going to be huge for George West offensively. In the passing game, they are getting back Serrano. Or in the receiving game, they are getting back Serrano with 21 receptions, 412 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. But they are losing Collins, number 5, with 14 receptions, 166 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. So they're not a throwing team. They're just a conservative run team. And I mean, every time they dropped the ball, they lost it too. So they lost 4 fumbles out of 4 fumbles. So that's one thing George West has to work on. Even though they minimize the amount of mistakes as they could. So, and they're getting back some pretty awesome studs on defense. Cantu, he's coming back for his senior year. Heineke, not Taylor Heineke, but Heineke, sophomore out of George West, number 60. He had 60 tackles. Number 60 got 60.
Okay.
Perfect. But they are losing Martin, who had 52 tackles. I don't know about Stutz. He's either an underclassman or a senior this year. And they're getting back O'Neal. He'll be a junior next season. They got a lot of sophomores on defense.
Yeah, they
My
were young.
opinion.
They were. I saw the roster at the beginning of the season. They were young.
And they share sacks. I see a lot of 0.5s and a 1.5. Their leading or their sack leader, Collins is leaving, but they got Castellano, Heineke, Garza, Cantu, Collins, Smith, another Cantu, and Pena. I mean, this team's gonna be good, guys. I really do think so. And they got Cisneros is coming back with 1 interception, and Collins, the sophomore, is coming back with an interception. But they are losing Martin, who had 4 interceptions this season. So I think George West is going to be competing for that second spot against Santa Rosa.
Ooh, he said second.
One of the few teams.
What?
I'm not
Wait
saying
a minute now. This team just they're okay. Wait a minute. Here. You heard TJ. Let's make sure I heard correctly, Tony. Now, TJ said this team might be second in a tough district. TJ Riddell is saying that George West. He didn't even pick this team to make the playoffs in 20. He didn't do that, right? So now he's saying that this team all of a sudden could go to the second spot,
they
second
have the
team in the
potential.
district in a very, very tough district, right? So that's what you're saying. I just want to make sure I got this right. You believe
Yeah.
George West is that good? They could beat everybody and get the second place spot in 2023.
Well, not only because my bosses work or that live over there.
Okay. You're
Not only because of that.
okay. You're trying to get in good graces. I understand.
I'm trying to get a promotion, dog.
There you go. Hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, man.
No,
your
but
boss
on
needs
a
to hear.
serious on a serious note, though, about George West, they are young, but they are dangerous.
They are.
They are very, very dangerous. They could potentially take that second spot. I don't know for sure if they'll be number 2, but it'll be a fun topic to discuss. Who will be number 2, Santa Rosa, George West, or possibly a third team that I might bring up today.
Tony, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not giving George West the second spot. I'll give him in the playoffs, but I'm not giving it to them. I'll tell you, and I'm not going to change my mind unless some guy moves into George West that moved from Dallas or, from some kind of Carthage or something. I'm not doing that. So I have to ask you, where do you see George West, Tony? I mean, do you see them like TJ does? I mean, they are young, and it is an up and
Well,
coming team.
I want to talk about something that we don't really talk about on a lot of the teams that we've covered so far. One of the things that George West has going for them right now is they're only losing one lineman. Let's see. Let me go to this. Let me go back to where I was at. Yeah, their whole line is coming back, with the exception of Lugo. I'm not real sure what position Lugo played, but and Maia. But other than that, all the other guys that played on the line, I mean, you got Medina, who's a sophomore, 13 pancake blocks. Pena, who's a junior, with 17 pancake blocks. Garza, who's a junior, with 9 pancake blocks. So you got some guys that can block. You got an O-line coming back. That's a quarterback's dream. Like we said, Collins already got some touches this year at the QB position, and then you put him behind an experienced line. And these guys were young this season, and next season they got a year of varsity under their belt. That makes quarterbacks comfortable. TJ talked about defensively how many guys are coming back. That's a coach's dream as well.
Yeah.
So I think George West does have a lot of things going for them. We haven't covered Odem yet, but when we get to it, we'll see what they got coming back. But I'll say right now, this is the most promising roster of kids, minus Acosta coming back from Taft. This is the most promising full roster that I've seen so far.
Now, the question, are you willing right now to say that this team, do you agree with TJ? Would you be willing to say, I'm not saying you got to put them there, but do you think they could actually be the second place team or possibly even upset the Taft Greyhounds? Do you see them that good next year?
If anybody's going to upset Taft, and I'm just talking about the teams we've covered so far, we haven't looked at, I didn't jump ahead and look at Monte Alto or Odem or Banquete. But if anyone thus far that we've covered can upset Taft and be in the number 2 spot, it's George West right now.
All right, you heard it here. I'm not willing to put the Longhorns. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I'm not going to put them in. I'm not putting them in the second. I'm just not.
So
because
let me hear this right. 1 week, me and Tony disagree about something. Tonight, we agree on something.
Yeah, I'm
Are you sick?
I'm shocked too. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I'm gonna have to this week. I'm gonna have to really dig into George West, because the two guys here, my two partners, they think you guys are seeing something that I'm not right, and that is that you believe what you're seeing in stats and reading and who's coming back. You guys believe George West could possibly be this district is tough. And you think these guys are one under the belt could possibly, that's a big statement for me here, to hear a team that has been struggling, and all of a sudden they get in the playoffs, and with everybody coming back, you guys believe they're that good. They're that good. They could be the second place team. That's a big statement.
I mean, honestly, despite losing the Post by 65, which again, they went to state for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a bad season at all. They really didn't. Like, if you look at their schedule real quick, I mean, they only lost 3 district games, which is hard. It's hard to win in that district. I'll be honest with you. But they barely lost to San Diego. They beat Mathis, who beat Taft. Might I remind you? Barely lost to Santa Rosa. Beat the brakes off of Monte Alto, 72-7. Barely lost to Hebbronville, 35-21. And beat Banquete and beat Odem. Loses to Taft 26-0. Look, Taft was beating Santa Rosa 43-0. Hebbronville 43 or 40-13, I believe. They only held Taft to 26 points. This is a team to watch out for right here.
Yeah,
number
yeah,
two.
yeah. You're right.
Most definitely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They held a high power offense, something a lot of people couldn't do, right? And they
Yeah.
held Acosta and them to just 26 points. That is impressive, guys. That is. I just saw that here, so I was looking through it. That is impressive, and that is something definitely to build on. So we'll see. I'm not willing to put them there yet. I don't think I'll change my mind, but I might. You guys are coming up with some great points. I'm seeing that, and this is the George West. It might be a team. Hey, this team. Hey, if we're gonna put them in second, why the hell not put them on in first, right? They're like, whoa, whoa.
I don't know about that. Let's pump the brakes on that.
All right,
Let's
yeah.
pump the brakes on that.
We still got JJ Echo still over there. So yeah, let's just hold everything, man. All right. Yeah, you never know. But George West definitely a team on the rise, guys, and we're definitely gonna be paying attention to them. Definitely expectations here on the Gridiron is that George West will be better in 2023 than in 2023. We'll now go to the fifth place team in this district, and that was the Banquete Bulldogs. They go 5-5 overall, 2-4 in district play. Tony, I'll take it to you. Your thoughts on Banquete last year? You gotta bring your mic down.
Oh, Tony, your mic again.
Banquete's kind of been in a drought. They started off hot 3-0 in the preseason. And then they lose to Three Rivers in their last preseason game. Not by a bunch, 12 points. And then they get their first win in district against Monte Alto. But I mean, I would say most games that they played in district were pretty close. And if we're gonna bring up the point that George West held Taft to only 26, Banquete held Taft to only 29, which is the second lowest scoring game that they had, minus their loss in the playoffs. So if we're gonna bring that point up, we could talk about that. But no, I didn't have Banquete in the playoffs. But they did start off pretty good. The beginning of the season. I didn't see anything spectacular a year ago to put them in the playoffs. Especially with this realignment and them jumping into this district. I didn't see it happening. So that's why I didn't put them in there. Looking at their roster, it looks like TJ's cousin was the quarterback, but he only threw for 398 yards. So there's nothing very promising there. He's graduating. They got a sophomore who threw one pass. So I don't know. He threw for 33%. So we'll see what happens. I mean, completed one pass out of 3. Offense, I mean, on the ground, it looks like the seniors carried most of the weight. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough looking at their roster. I'm not seeing anything significant that tells me that luck's going to change for them next season. It's not looking real great for Banquete. I mean, it's a tough district, and they don't have enough guys coming back right now from what I see. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes up for Banquete next season.
DJ?
All right. So Tony mentioned my cousin. Okay. He's not my actual cousin, guys. Let's be honest here. It's just a guy with a similar name. I don't know this kid, but I would love to meet him because he's got the same last name. But you did mention that seniors did carry most of the run. Well, let me tell you his stats since he is leaving after all. He had 77 carries with 817 rushing yards, averaged 10.6 yards a carry, guys. And he had 10 rushing touchdowns. Receiving, he had 10 receptions, 126 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. The year prior, he was actually a receiver. So he played quarterback and a little bit of receiver this year. But he had his best receiving yardage season in 2021 and 2022 with 31 receptions and 495 receiving yards, almost 500 yards receiving. excuse me, and 9 touchdowns. Uh, Joseph Riddell. Okay, I'm calling it Riddell. It's not Rydell. It's not Rydell. It's not any of that. So get your facts straight, teachers. Um, they're losing a very good athlete in in Joseph Riddell, but I mean they do have young talent coming back, but at, at the same token, man, I just don't think they're going to be able to. I just don't think they're going to be able to make it to the playoffs next season. I really don't think so. It's hard to say. It really is. Like they had a pretty lackluster season, to be honest.
Well, we still got time to figure that out, right? But right
Yeah.
now, definitely Banquete just missed the playoffs as the fifth place team behind George West. We'll go to the sixth place team now. This was a surprise, guys, for all of us because I know all of us had at least Odem, if not winning the district, getting in the playoffs. I don't think the three of us here on the Gridiron 64 saw what was coming, what happened in 2022, which was Odom just did not make the playoffs. I didn't see that coming. I don't think you guys did either. So it was a shocker, I guess it's safe to say, that this team did not make the playoffs after dominating this district for so long. Their overall record was 1-9. They went 1-5 in district play, but if you look at a lot of their scores, guys, they were competitive. They weren't getting blown out. So
Yeah, like
just looking
despite
just looking at this team, guys, I just think it's a young team. It's a very talented team. If you look at the score at their scores and the stats, and you guys are looking at them, right? This team looked like it had big time potential. It's just they were young. And if that is the case, that they were just a young team learning a new system, whatever the case, right? After you look at the games that they lost, but very competitive. And the game against Taft, they almost won that game. I think it was like 33-26. So they played the best team, the district champs, as highly as we talk about them. They played them tough. So I'm
yeah,
looking at that game. I'm looking at the other games, and I'm thinking Odom is going to bounce back next year. I mean, that's just what I think early on. TJ, I'll go to you, man. Your thoughts. I mean, I know you're shocked as I was, but do you
very.
think this team is going to rebound big time next year?
They are losing their senior quarterback Dawson. That is one of the big key losses. I don't know about Galvon, their running back, but they are losing Dawson in the run game as well. He had 871 rushing yards.
Mm.
But Galvon, if he is coming back, he might be 1,000 yards this season. He might be at 1,000 yards. But they're losing Magana as well. He didn't really. He wasn't really a factor in the run game, but they are getting back Tavira, who had 10 receptions with 176 receiving yards, but he played as a backup quarterback in this season. So we might see Tavira in the starting quarterback role. Who knows? And then you got Winchell, who's coming back as a junior next season. Brown, I'm not too sure, but he was the leading receiver with 639 receiving yards. So got young guys, got young potential offensively. Defensively, you're losing Villarreal, who had 77 tackles, but he was in the fourth place spot as far as tackles. Peterson was first. I don't know what his classification is. If there's any Odem Owl fans out there, let us know in the comment section down below. He had 114 total tackles. He had 65 solo. That's more than anybody besides Canales, Rodriguez, and Villarreal in total tackles. So if Peterson's coming back, that's a big win for Odom. And then in the sack department, they're getting their best pass rusher, Vasquez, coming back with 2 sacks this season. But he only played 7 games this season. So a lot of injuries played a big role in Odom. So I don't necessarily think they were a bad team. I just think a lot of injuries had a lot to do with their unsuccessful season. Um,
That could
again,
be
they're
the
losing.
case.
What's that?
That could be the case. That would
Yeah,
make sense to me.
yeah. I see a lot of guys who have gotten 8, 5, 7, 9, 6 games played, and there's guys that have 10 games played. So that
Yeah.
tells me that there's been a lot of guys with key injuries, So for Odom, they just gotta stay healthy, and I could see potential in Odom this season. They might be the third team I'm talking about.
Mhm.
They really might be that third team that I'm talking about as far as competing against George West and Santa Rosa for that second place spot. Hebbronville, I don't think they'll be there, but I think they'll be in the playoffs. So you might have just gotten a glimpse of what my prediction will be. It's not set in stone yet, but
We know the
um,
direction, the trajectory. We know which way you're going now. You're like a
yeah,
hurricane. We know where you're coming from, man. So we'll see
yeah,
if you're like a hurricane, TJ. We'll see if you'll go continue down this path, or you be hard headed and turn another way. We shall see
yeah.
when the
It might
summertime comes.
it might be like Katrina just run through everything, or it might be Harvey just change direction no matter what. So I don't know with this district because it is a very tough district. It
It
really
is.
is. But
It is. It is. It is. And with the young, and you know what? But this is the way you want it, right? You want Odom to be better. You want Hebbronville to be better. You want George
yeah,
West and Tap. You want these guys to be. You don't want to dominate a team that's just so much more dominant than the rest of the team that they just blow
yeah,
everybody out. You want
you
it,
don't
yeah,
want a more you don't want a more superior team that wins district titles for the last 7 years.
right.
Basically, what I'm saying, don't have an Oklahoma or Alabama in your division.
Well,
And I hate saying that. Don't let me say that again, Gabriel.
I mean, I really do think it's going to be good. I mean, I think Taft is the favorite, obviously, but we talked
Oh
about
yeah,
George West. We're talking about some of the players coming back. It's not a given, and Taft is losing that receiver. So we'll see what else Taft loses as far as the lineman. I mean, Tony made a good point here where he said we don't talk all about the lineman. We talk about the quarterback and the running, but they can't do anything if they don't have a good line. So we really got to start paying attention more to the lineman who's bringing that back because I think that's key to their success in 2023. Tony, I'll turn it over to you. What's your thoughts on Odom? I'm sure you were shocked like we were, but can this team bounce back from what you see right now?
TJ brought up some interesting points. When you look at their game, that their player stats, there's a lot of players that didn't play the full season, which we can just assume from statistics standpoint that they might have gotten hurt or something along the way, and that's what kept them from performing. Um, there's some players that you could say we need to watch out for, but like this Brown guy, we don't know what his classification is, if he's a senior or a junior or a freshman or a sophomore, but I think that even if that's the case where you had a season full of injuries and your players didn't get to play full seasons, I don't think that necessarily, even though they're coming back, sets you up for success the following year just because they missed so many games. When we talk about a team like George West who kind of struggled along the way, but they had a young team and they played. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
got to play the whole season and got those extra games under their belt. I think that puts them more ahead of a player who had to rehabilitate, the rest of the season.
yeah,
So I'm not gonna put Odom at number 2 at this point. Anything could change. At this point, I'm not saying that they're gonna be a 2-spot team. I think if they go 5-5, that's a big win for Odom after going 1-9 this past season. So I think if I'm Odom and I'm the townsfolk of Odom, I think 5-5 is something to aim for. And if you make the playoffs and you do end up in the top 4, even better. But we'll wait and see. These guys got to be able to play full seasons though.
Yeah, there is something to be said for that. You can talk about injuries, but they didn't get on the football field and they missed a lot of games. And even if they come back, and if you were a young player, it really doesn't help you out. So you're absolutely right. It's a good point, T. It's something we don't really think about here, right? But injuries, they do cause problems, especially for the younger players trying to get that playoff experience. So if you're a sophomore and you missed 4 or 5 games, coming in next year, what did you learn because you weren't on the playing field? So there is some effects to that, not being able to play because of the injuries. How much will you be able to help out the team when you still got to learn? Because you can practice all you want, but real game time plays a lot different than practice. So we'll see. Tony feels that if Odom right now can sit 5-5, that's a good expectation for him going into the 2023 season. We shall see. I personally think Odom needs to when Odom is at their best. If this district just gets that much better, right? And I want to see Odom at their best before JJ Acosta graduates, because that Taft and Odom, man, it's always. I don't think there's very much love
It
lost
makes that
between them,
rivalry
but that
special.
rivalry, it is good. When Odom's at their best and Taft is at their best, you definitely want to go to that game. And you know what? The Gridiron 64 needs to go to that game. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be played in Taft, but that I don't think they like each other very much over there, really. I don't think that the towns really they want to beat the crap out of each other. So we'll see what happens, man. But it's going to be a good one. So hopefully Odom will be better. They'll be healthy, like Tony said, and then of course Taft hopefully he's healthy too. And I think it should be a good one. But let's not count the other guys out. These guys talked about Hebbronville being a little losing some players, but George West, Banquete, we never know. Santa Rosa, we never know. So we can't count those guys out. We'll go to our last team here. And this
you
team
can
really
count out.
struggled. Monte Alto, the Blue Devil, they went 0-10. They did not win a game. Of course, 0-6 in district. And we always talk about that here on the Gridiron, about how we don't like to see a team not win a ball game. It's just hard. They practice like everybody else. So, Tony, I'll start off with you, man. 0-10. They did not win a game. Where do you see this team? Can they improve at all next year? Can they win a game, team? Can they win a game?
Let me see. Let me see.
We're dealing with another progressive.
Man, they
like
did. They
Ted
didn't
Miller.
have a close game. They didn't have a close game. I don't even think they scored 100 points in 10 games.
Yeah,
Nope.
TJ said they're
I don't think they
progressive.
scored 100 points.
The
It's tough, man. I say this year after year after year. I've been talking about Robstown. I talked about Carroll for a few years when they had them 0-10 seasons, and it's tough, man, because when you're on a team and you go to practice every day, and I can't say I know what that feels like, because whenever I played, we used to win all the time. But I could imagine, the feeling of going to practice every day and not having even a close game. And Monte Alto's definitely struggled. Um, I'm not sure what's going on with the. Oh, they didn't report very many stats. So it's tough to see. It's tough to tell. But two of the guys they had at QB, one of them was a senior, one of them was a junior. It looks like the senior was probably the starter, based off of the 3 games that they have listed here. Uh, well, he had more attempts, but actually, the junior had more passing yards. So I don't know what's going on there. Um, they're a young team, not as young of a team as George West was, but they're a young team. It's gonna be tough, man. We've been saying this since we got on. This is a tough district, with Taft and Odem and Hebbronville, George West. It's tough. To be able to bounce back and try to win a game. I hope that they could. I hope that they would. But they're gonna have some work to these guys. I don't even know where Monte Alto's at. Do we even know where that's at on the
I
map?
don't. I don't. I really don't.
TJ? I'm gonna find
Uh,
out before TJ's done talking, but I don't even know where they're at. But what I can say if there's any way that this gets to those guys, this podcast gets over there, and one person from the area, Monte Alto, sees it, all I can say is if I'm out there as a sophomore or junior and I'm coming back next year, I mean, it's all about hitting the weights, conditioning, and not taking a break, because that's the only way. Is you got to have that mindset as a team. Is the only way to change. If you can make a change right now, because you can. If the whole team decides we're going to hit the weight room every day, work on the condition every day, because we're going to make the playoffs next year, that's possible. But those guys are going to have to do that now.
Mhm.
because if they wait till next till 2 days next in August or July, it's too late. It's too late for me. It's too late for that team to try to make a run to try to even get a win in district. So I'm thinking that they need to start now. Those guys, they need to start now.
Yes,
TJ, I think
I
Tony's
agree.
right. Your thought?
I agree. I really do agree. Now, do you guys have any idea when their last win was?
I don't. I have no idea.
I don't even know
No?
where they're from. I don't even know where they're from. So no.
All right. So their last win was November 8th, 2019.
Wow. See,
And they actually played in 2020 and they went 0-4. And then they went 0-10 the following year. And then they went 0-10 this year. That's 24 straight losses. Their last win was, guess who? They're in this district right now.
Santa Rosa.
Eh,
Banquete?
Banquete.
Wow.
They beat them 20-12. That was their last win, and it was their last game of the season. So I don't know. It might be a curse that the Blue Devils have, but three straight seasons that they went winless. If it wasn't for the COVID restrictions for down south, I'm pretty sure Monte Alto's down south, um, or further south. Yeah, so that would have been 30 straight wins or 30 straight losses. They would have had 30 straight losses.
See,
And
TJ, real quick, but you see, I think that's Tony's point. I think at some point you just start to, we're not going to win. The mentality starts because when you
yeah,
go 3 years and you don't win a ball game, it's something that's within you now. It's not the program. It's not. It's you. It's. We got to look at the. You got to look at yourself as a
it's that
player
mindset
and say
that
we're not going to win. We've been losing. So what's another year? You know that starts to creep in because when you play 20 something games, 24, and you don't win a game, now the players got to start looking at themselves. It becomes now a part of the players putting in the effort to. I think because losing 0-10 is right, but when you go 3 years and you can't win a game, that's now we gotta look at the work ethic and we gotta look at do we really want to win because you can win a game. I think I don't think a team is that bad for 3 years. I don't think other teams are better. I mean they probably aren't as good, but you're good enough to win at least one game. So that's just my
yeah,
thought on it.
yeah. And the thing is, like with all of that being said, as far as the mindset, it is a mindset
Mhm.
that we're gonna keep losing. That's just the
I put the
plain
work in,
simple
yeah.
truth. And I've seen it time in and time again that teams do that.
Mhm.
There's gonna be a point where they're gonna have enough of losing and they win a game. And same thing with Progresso. Honestly, if these two have a matchup, I'm interested. I'm
Mhm.
invested in it. You
Mhm.
know. So
Yeah, guys, I would be interested too. But again, we'll see what this team does, guys. 0-10, 0-10. I hope they win at least one game because I mean, I really do feel too for the players and the coaches because they put the time in anyway. Coaches are out there. I mean, I know people say, hey, look, they're getting paid. It doesn't matter though. You want to win a game, right? You don't want to go 0-10. You don't make the playoffs, but you win 2 or 3 games. That's good. When you go 0-10, for 3 years, that's man, that's bad. And I don't like to see a program go like that because they put the work in. Hopefully, they're out there. I want to see a team at least win 1 to 2 games a season. I don't like the 0-10. So let's see what this team can do in 2023. But right now, knowing the pattern that they're going, it almost looks like it's going to be another 0-10 if they don't win in the non-district because this district is really tough. So that will conclude our recap of the 7 teams in this district. As you heard us here and you heard the guys break it down, this is going to be a really good district in 2023. The Top Gun team, with the best quarterback, as I say, and I think in the Coastal Bend area, who's coming back, they've got a good shot of going back to back. But there will be some teams that they'll have to play their best game. There's some up and coming teams that have something to say about that. So this is going to be a very interesting team and district to take a look at. And here on the Gridiron, we will definitely be paying attention to this team next year. Now, before we call it a night here, I did want to talk a little bit about some of the coaches. We've lost a lot of coaches, not just offensive coordinators in the Coastal Bend area. There have been some head coaches that have left to other places. I mean, this happens all the time. It's not something unusual, right? But this year, it seems like we lost a lot of coaches this year alone. A lot of coaches moving up north or to different places. So of course, we've got to replace those coaches, some offensive coordinators, some head coaches. But I did want to talk a little bit, and TJ will talk about one offensive coordinator that was hired that'll be going to work for Justin Evans and the Miller Bucks. The other one I'll take here will be here in my hometown. We lost a coach here that moved on, Coach Seibert. So we had to replace him. And we did today. He was introduced this evening. His name, he's our athletic director, Rockport Fulton Pirate new athletic director, head football coach, Jacob Bible. I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to introduce myself, but I do hope to do that sometime in the month of March. Of course, we have a podcast, so I don't know if he's aware of what we do, but we're definitely going to send an invite to the coach. I know he's really busy, but hopefully he'll have time and he'll want to come on and we'll have some questions for him. So we hope to do that toward the end of March. So we'll see how that plays out. But I just want to say a little something here that they put up here about Coach Bible. The Rockport Fulton ISD Board of Trustees unanimously approved the hiring of Jacob Bible as the new athletic director and head football coach during a special called meeting, which was this evening, right? Bible, a native of Moore, Oklahoma, has 17 years of coaching experience, where he has won 2 state football championships with Aledo High School and 2 boys track state titles with Oklahoma Midwest City High School. Most recently, he's from Middle. Can somebody say that? Middle? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Middle Lithuanian.
Middle Lithuanian heritage, where I believe, guys, he was a defensive coordinator. Didn't say that, but I think I read that. I could be wrong, but I think he was a defensive coordinator. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Coach Bible is Rockport Fulton's gain, in my opinion. He's a quality man and a quality coach. Said 11-time state champion and recently retired Aledo athletic director Steve Wood. That's a big compliment. That's a big statement coming from that coach. Coach Bible is a kid magnet who loves kids first and foremost. He's an unbelievable leader and will have the student athletes at Rockport Fulton High School doing things and performing at levels they've never imagined. So Bible has a master's of education in sports administration from Concordia University and a Bachelor of Science in Education from Southwestern Oklahoma State University. Bible and his wife, Alicia, have been married for 14 years and have a daughter, Michaela, 13, and a son, Cole, 11. So welcome, Coach Bible, your family, to our Rockport community. We're glad to have you here on the Gridiron. We talk Texas high school football. Coastal Bend in particular, we covered 37 teams in our Coastal Bend area, but we're looking to expand. But we talk about all kinds of football programs here in the state of Texas, but we are stationed in Rockport. So I do have a podcast also with a whole crew that just talks about Rockport Fulton Pirate sports. We do got a football crew that kind of calls the games, goes to the games, we commentate the games, we bring in, we interview kids and players. So that's called the Pirates Coast. So we definitely are looking to hopefully have you on real soon on the Pirates Coast. We'll definitely be sending you an invite, and we'd definitely like to have you on, introduce you to our community, to the surrounding areas, and we'll have a couple of questions. The podcast would be kind of short, but he's definitely an experienced coach. He's been around some good coaches. He's definitely won already in 2 states. So Tony, I'll go to you first, since you're from Rockport like I am, man. Your thoughts? I mean, I heard on Friday, there's always rumors circling, but I heard there was a coach possibly from the Dallas area. I didn't really find out till today his name, of course, like everybody else. But your thoughts on this coach and taking on a program that has been successful the last 9 years.
You know, of course, we're happy that Rockport finally made their decision, and you know, looking at his credentials, it sounds like he had a pretty excellent career. You know, Alito and Midlothian. I mean, those are some really good schools that play tough competition year after year. I'm not sure what kind of competition there is in Oklahoma, but I mean, 2 state titles, that's nothing to downplay either way. But yeah, you know, excited to see what he can do with these boys. You know, Rockport has had you know, at least the last 8 of 9 seasons that were very successful. And you know, we talk about it, you know, we talk about it on the podcast, you know, where we're just used to winning. It was just a thing, you know, and if we lost the game, it was like, I can't believe we lost. And you know, Cybert had us just feeling that way as you know, as a local, you know, that we were going to win games and we're supposed to have a winning season. And it's kind of just the way life was the last 8 years until this previous season. But you know, I believe that you know, uh with a guy like with Bible's credentials, I believe somebody like him can come in and really change things around, and I can't wait to see what he could do. You know, but I'll say that, you know, like we did with all the 3A Division Two, how we just broke them down, and we talk about players coming and going. You know, Rockport does graduate a lot of seniors this year. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but they graduate some pretty skilled players. Of course, you lose Ace, you lose your quarterback, the varsity starter for the last 3 years. You lose him, so you know it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and to start a season losing, you know, Devin Phillips at running back, and you know, your starting quarterback. You know, it's going to be tough. But you know, I can't wait to see what Bible brings to the table, and I, you know, and what he does for the rest of Rockport sports, because we talked about that too, or y'all talked about that on the Pirates Cove, about how successful all of team sports have been in Rockport. So you know, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm really glad that we got somebody with credentials like his.
Before I go to TJ, I'll just say this: on the Gridiron 64, we definitely welcome Coach Bible and his family to the Coastal Bend area. We're glad to have him here with his credentials. It looks like, you know, and I think I read up a little bit on it when I had time here at work today, and I think he's taken some programs that have had trouble getting into the playoffs and had losing seasons, and he's gotten there, and he's gotten them into district runner-ups, and he's gotten them into the playoffs. So he knows how to, you know, get with a program that, you know, maybe has had some trouble winning, and it doesn't take him very long to get that program going. So when you read what he brings to the table and the coach that he's been around, it gets exciting here in Rockport, right, to see what he can do for our program and hopefully continue the winning tradition that Cybert has left here for the last, you know, 8 to 9 years. So we definitely want to keep rolling. And, you know, we've been spoiled in winning and getting into those second and third round playoffs, right? So it's definitely going to be exciting. And then for the Pirates Cove, which we come on every Wednesday, definitely, you know, when the crew comes on and we talk there and we talk about Rockport, you know, Fulton Pirate Sports, we definitely, the community of Rockport, definitely on our part in the Pirates Cove and GT Sports, we definitely welcome Coach Bible and his family here to our small community. We look forward to bringing him on the Pirates Cove next month, and hopefully if he has time or in the near future, and talking some football with the coach. So DJ, I'll pass it over to you. You definitely live in Rockport. You didn't go to school, but you also live in this community, and you got a sister that goes to school there. So your thoughts on Rockport Fulton hiring Coach Bible here?
I mean, this is a good thing for Rockport to hire a coach with the credentials that Bible has. You know, especially getting getting a good word from Steve Wood just alone says right there he is the good candidate right there. And having a coach like Steve Wood or an athletic director like Steve Wood say, "Yeah, this guy is good-ish," you know, that speaks a lot of volumes,
Mhm.
especially for down here in the coastal bend. That also spreads a message to the players that, hey, this guy's gonna be legit. This guy's gonna help us out. So it it sounds like to me he's gonna put in a lot of work this season to make this team co- be able to compete against this tough district, which is going to be better. Uh, and also to excel from years from the next couple of years. Uh, I will say this right now, like Midlothian Heritage, before he came along, not that great. When he came along, they were district champions, district competitors. They were deep in the playoffs. I mean, they were beating teams like Temple. Like Temple's a highly regarded Central Texas team now, and it speaks a lot of volumes when you beat a program that has had uh, well over 5 state championships in their books.
Hey,
Uh,
TJ, didn't you, and Tony, I'm sorry, TJ, but I just want to ask this question real quick. Did I read right where last year they were district champs with him there as a defensive coordinator, possibly, and they beat Waco La Vega. They almost beat Stephenville. Did I see that correct, or was I mistaken?
Midlothian Heritage.
Yes,
Let me see something real
I was
quick.
reading so much about him that I might have gotten it wrong, but I just didn't know.
I mean,
What was their record last year? I want to say that they were district champs. They went like 11-2, and they went like 6 or 7-0 in district.
hang on, let me see something real quick. I'm on Max Preps now. So, give me a sec.
Yeah, you got to bring your mic down.
Yeah, 1 sec.
They beat La Vega 41-14. So I mean
Yeah,
that's crazy
so
right there. They lost to Stephenville by a touchdown. I mean, yeah. And they walked right through their district minus Everman. They only won by a point, but other than that, I mean, then they lost to South Oak Cliff in the playoffs in overtime.
Wow.
You know what I
yeah,
mean? We're talking about a team that went to OT with South Oak Cliff. I mean, that's just wild. That just talks about the kind of
Competition.
talent that talent and competition that he's faced up there. So I mean, and it's not going to get a whole lot easier down here for him playing Cal Allen and all those teams to if they have to go that route.
yeah.
But Rockford's got a pretty tough district to play against themselves, Port Lavaca, Miller, and all them. So see what happens. Oh,
Yeah,
Miller moved up, right?
Miller did move up. Yeah, yeah, we'll be good. So TJ, the last thing we'll talk about here is and I'll let you kind of talk about this Miller. Coach Evans obviously lost Coach Matthew McHugh, which is a big loss. I mean, this guy did a lot of good stuff for the Miller Bucks, but he's moving on to bigger and better things up north, I believe. But Coach
Yep.
Evans and the Miller Bucks hired an offensive coordinator. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in Miller and who did they hire?
So Matthew McHugh, as everybody is well aware, Matthew McHugh is now with Crowley, the Crowley Owls or Crowley Eagles up north by Dallas. Okay. They are a phenomenal team for one, and they have some dogs up there. But let's talk about who the new hiree is, who's going to be replacing Matthew McHugh. This is a guy that has been in Miller before. He was there when Matthew was there. This guy went to Clear Springs High School in Houston for 2 years as an offensive coordinator and had success over there. This guy was there in Miller when Miller had the number one statistical offense in the nation, not in the state, in the nation. So you're talking about the top of the top in the country as far as offense. This guy will be the new assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, and QB's position coach here in Miller, and he'll be there to assume his duties March 20th, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Bradley Chavez. This guy has the tools to be a well executed offensive coordinator. He coached over there at Clear Springs, where it's a 6A. So he's going to step down from that 6A ball, and 6A ball is a lot different from 5A, 4A, and all that. Okay. And I will say this is a good hire for Miller. This is a great replacement. for Matthew McHugh. They're going to continue the offense, and for him and Matthew McHugh, like Bradley Chavez and Matthew McHugh were the masterminds, along with Justin Evans, for that number one statistical offense in 2019 and 2020. Uh, this is great for Miller. I absolutely love this for Miller. I think they're gonna do well next season with Bradley Chavez. I think that Justin Evans and Bradley Chavez are gonna cook up something real nice for that district, and hopefully take down Veterans Memorial for Miller. But at the same token, Veterans Memorial is still the top dog. They are still the undisputed district champions in this district. So you have to be smart when you play against them. But don't count out the rest of the teams, because you got Carroll coming up. You got the Victoria schools. You got Ray. You got Moody, or not. Yeah, Moody, King. You got all these schools down here that are looking to take down Miller as well. So I hope very good success for Miller next season. I really do like watching Miller play football. But I love this district. I really do. It's
I
fascinating.
love the fact that you love Miller, and I know you love Miller, and because I hear it all the time when you're on the
Oh,
podcast.
the
Hey man,
Miller
hey man,
crowd
listen.
loves me.
Yeah, you're a Miller guy, you're an Ingleside guy. I don't blame you. I'm a Rockport guy, man. So I mean, hey, we come in here, we're fair with everybody, but we got the love, right, for certain players. I listen, Tony. I think reading the credentials of what TJ said, right, and this guy has been at Miller before, so there is a relationship that Justin Evans has with him. Probably some of those assistants, because it wasn't too long ago that he was at Miller. Probably still knows a lot of those coaches. So he's going to jump right into a system that he probably knows very well, coaches that he knows very well. And he's coming into a situation here, Tony and TJ, where I mean, he's got some players for next year. He's got quarterbacks here that can really get going. I mean, he's not going to have to really come in and work with some. He's got some talent already coming in for the 2023 season. He's got some receivers, and this roster is deep again. He's got two quarterbacks that he's going to be able to kind of play with in terms of setting his offense. We saw these two guys play this past year. So I'll Tony, I'll ask you, do you think Miller will miss a beat with what we've seen? I don't remember this guy at Miller. The far back as I can remember is when McHugh was there. So, but he wasn't there too long ago. Great hire for Miller. Your thoughts on Chavez coming back to Miller and what this means for the Bucks?
Like you said, if he's been with them before and coached with them with some of the coaches before, I think they're gonna gel. They're gonna gel well, and things will get moving fast. Like you said, like you just mentioned. I mean, I don't know what Miller's been doing, but man, for the past 4 years or so, they've really been stacking the players up over there, and it's Miller used to be one of those 0-10 teams or 2-8 teams, and the last few years, man, Miller has really been having a very, very good program. I know Justin Evans has really got the team to buy into his work ethic, and it really does show. Even though like TJ said, they didn't win district last year. I picked them to win district. I picked Miller to win district just because of what I knew they had coming back. I know the talent that they have. Uh, and I think that they're going to be tough to beat even next year. So having this new coach come in to help out, like you said, he's been with them. He's been with the Miller before. I think he's gonna gel well. He knows what to expect at Miller, and I think it's a very, very good hire for them.
Yeah, it's going to
So
be,
can't wait to see.
and I'll say this on the park, and I said it before, right? To me, and Justin Evans, everybody knows he's a great coach, but I think behind the scenes, Miller has always had talent. We go back to 30 years when I was in school. They've always had athletes at Miller High School, but these kids, they trust in those coaches they have over there. They believe, like you said, in the system that Justin Evans has. When he talks to them, I think he can. They believe in what he's telling them. And you've seen a lot of these kids go up and play at the next level. They're getting an opportunity not just to play high school ball, but it's their talents are being shown and they're able to get into that next level. So when you look at all of the stuff that Miller's done these last couple of years, those kids are buying into what those coaches are saying over there. And Justin Evans is doing a great job on and off the field and producing athletes and getting 100, because you can always talk an athlete to come in to play football, right? But to get potentially the best out of the skill level that they have is not easy. And Coach Evans is able to do that with these kids at the quarterback position, at the receivers position, the talent that he sees. These guys are really excelling, and a lot of them are able to go and showcase their talent here in Coastal Bend and get to play at that next level. So it's really great to see that. I think this coach is going to just continue to help Justin Evans develop that talent that they've got over there. And I don't really think they're going to miss a beat, guys, from what I'm reading, from what this kid and what TJ said. This is a great hire from the Miller Bucks. And I believe he's been there. Like I said, and the bigger plus is he understands what they're doing. He's been in this system. So I think he's going to jump right in and be able to just continue to build from what they have done the last couple of years. So yes, I think Miller's still going to be a top dog next year. I don't know if there'll be bets, but it'll be great between these two teams. It always is, right? So congratulations to Bradley Chavez, a new offensive coordinator for the Miller Bucks. And of course, Jacob Bible, the new athletic AD head football coach here at Rockport Fulton. So who knows what we might even have Bradley Chavez come on the gridiron.
By the way, I congratulated Jacob Bible on Twitter, by the way, and he already liked it. So
Good.
He's already a fan of the gridiron.
Good. I hope he's a bigger fan of the Pirates Code, because that's what we're really gonna. I mean, I want him on the gridiron, right? But man, he's the head man at Rockport, and we, like Tony said, on the Pirates Code, right? We talk softball, we talk baseball. He's the head guy, so definitely we're looking to talk to him, obviously with football, but obviously, he's going to have his hands on with all the sports down there as the AD, and Rockport has just been doing really good in all the other sports. So definitely it was a great show, guys. Thank you for coming on, man.
Great
I really
show.
appreciate your time, man. It was great to talk about this district. I mean, this district is going to be really good. I'm high on tap, and but these other teams that we were able to break down today, man, it's going to be another hot district where teams are just going to battle it out and beat each other up in 2023. Can't wait for that. But here on the gridiron, I'll give you guys the final word. TJ, I'll go to you first, man. Final thoughts before we call it a night.
Okay, this is more of a last minute question. Who do you guys think is a better quarterback? And I think you already know what I'm talking about.
You talking about high school, college, or you talking about
NFL.
Oh man,
Who do you think overall is a better quarterback? Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes? And why?
Tony, I'll let you go first.
Patrick Mahomes, because he's proven that he could win a Super Bowl multiple times.
Not stats.
I'm gonna say, guys, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say this. I have a lot of respect for Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a hell of a football player. He just won another Super Bowl in his short, young career. So there's no way that this guy is not an elite. And when it's all said and done, I want to see where he ends up. But if I had a franchise and I owned a team and I had to pick, I would take Joe Burrow. And it's nothing against Patrick Mahomes, but this is why I would take Joe Burrow. And I think Joe Burrow, to me, he doesn't have if Joe Burrow had Andy Reid, he probably already had one. I mean, look at what he's done.
He'd have 3 Super Bowls.
Well, in the short period of time, he went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams, right? Barely. But that team really wasn't that good. And he took that team. And if you've watched him over his college, this guy is just big time. That don't mean he's better than Mahomes, because I don't think he's better than Mahomes. But the style that I like in a quarterback, I like it in Joe Burrow. I think this guy is big time. I think he's made and built for big moments. I don't think he shies away. Neither does Patrick Mahomes. But my gut instinct tells me if they were both available, I just love the way this guy plays. And I trust the football in his hands in big moments. Last drive, I just love the guy. I love the way he played in college. I've loved in the short period of time that he's been in the NFL, and I think he's going to win Super Bowl. Now, here's the question you got to ask: when it's all said and done, and both of these guys' careers are over, who's going to have more Super Bowls? Now, Patrick Mahomes has already got 2 up on him, but Joe Burrow
Yeah,
is
in
going to win a
7
Super
years.
Bowl. Now, the question is, Patrick Mahomes. Look, Patrick Mahomes, man. Now they both have good receivers, so it's not like Joe Burrow doesn't have, some studs, some dogs, as you say. But
Yep.
I just love Joe Burrow's better. I love Patrick Mahomes. Don't get me wrong, but I just if I had a franchise, I'm taking Joe Burrow, man. I just am.
Yeah, let me tell you why I picked Joe Burrow over Patrick Mahomes. I think he has the ability to read offenses a lot better. He's not trying to win style points. He's trying to win the game. And honestly, yeah, Mahomes is a little bit more athletic than Burrow,
He's a
but
lot more athletic. He's not a little bit. He's a lot more athletic.
no, he's a little bit. Joe Burrow can run too. Let's be honest here.
He's not as
Uh,
elusive though as Patrick Mahomes. He can't make those moves that Mahomes can. He just can't.
you might be right about that.
Al-
But
Also Mahomes from Texas. I forgot to say that.
That's why it was
well,
hard for me to take Burrows. That's why it was hard.
besides all that, besides the Super Bowls, besides the being in Texas, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it without. If it wasn't without Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes wouldn't win a Super Bowl. I'm telling you that right
Yeah,
now.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
He would not win a Super Bowl if it wasn't for Andy Reid because of the simple fact that when he played at Texas Tech, honestly, he was okay at Texas Tech.
Mhm.
They you didn't see him taking Texas Tech to the Big 12 championship every year
True.
like he's taking KC to the conference championship almost every year or the Super Bowl every other year. So with that being said, Joe Burrow took an LSU team after being there in 2 years, took them to the SEC championship, took them to the Fiesta Bowl, and he also took them to the national champion. He spanked both Oklahoma and Clemson with Trevor Lawrence, with Travis Etienne, and he also spanked Tyler Short-Man Syndrome Murray. Okay.
Yeah. Tony, I just going. Tony's got to go. He's got to take care of some stuff. Tony, thanks very much.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week, brother. Have a good
Later,
one.
Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, TJ.
So a lot of people get mad, especially Kansas City Chiefs fans, get
Yeah.
super aggressively angry when I mention that Joe Burrow is better.
I think he is
And
too.
I mean as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not
yeah,
talking
no,
about as an athlete. I'm
Yeah.
talking about as a quarterback. You got to have football IQ.
Yeah. His
better
IQ
than
is
Joe
really
Burrow.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if you can read the safeties in the front seven in just a few seconds before you snap the ball, you're a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's no, you're absolutely right. His IQ is phenomenal. And like you said, you go to college, and I do believe you, and I agree with you. He's got Andy Reid. And I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't great, he is, but Andy Reid,
No.
he puts him in a great position. He's got a great coach, just like Tom Brady had Bill Belichick, right? Like
Yeah.
there's things that got to go right. So yes, I think Andy Reid is one of the best coaches ever in the NFL.
Yes.
And he's just
And-
so offensively smart. And when you bring Patrick Mahomes and you bring that athleticism and stuff, and you surround him with talent, this is the result of 2 Super Bowls. So yes, I think you're right. But when you look at college and you compare them, yes, overall, you're right. I think Joe, this is just my opinion, right? But yeah, I take Joe Burrow too.
Yeah, I just go with football IQ, man. I think
The guy's good.
Patrick Mahomes is a smart guy. Don't get me wrong.
He's
But
great.
he married the wrong woman. I
Oh
will
Lord.
say that right.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't know.
Low
anything about
blow,
that.
but still, it's true. I feel bad for the guy.
I don't know
And,
his wife, so I can't say nothing. I don't know anything about their marriage or anything. I just know him. But
well, she's
you might know
she's a
something I don't know.
she's a
Yeah.
nuisance. She's a nuisance. But
But but you're right. You're right. Joe Burrows, he is his IQ so high, man. And he's just he was that kid was born to play football. He was. He was born to
yeah,
play football since he was a kid. You can just see it in him. Confidence, he wants to be in, he's just a big moment guy. He comes up big in big moments. And he's gonna
yeah.
win a Super Bowl here real soon. I do believe.
I
Long as
guarantee
Cincinnati puts the talent and keeps it around him, that'd be great.
put an offensive line in front of him, and I'm telling you, you will look at the 2019 LSU Tigers in the
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if Justin Jefferson decides to say not re-sign with the Vikings
Hmm.
and decides to go to Cincinnati, that would be huge.
Well,
That would be
listen.
huge.
Well, listen, TJ. Cincinnati's not the best play to play, but receivers will want to go play with Joe Burrow. Cincinnati
Yeah,
could
and not only that,
could get guys like that because they see the quarterback that's there. They want to play for a quarterback like that. So even though Cincinnati's not the best place, best city to in football to play with, they can attract receivers because they have Joe Burrow and people want to play with that quarterback. So
yeah,
yeah.
and not only that, you have Tyler Boyd, you have
Mhm.
D. Higgins,
Mhm.
you have
Jamar
Jamar Chase.
Chase, yeah.
You get that LSU connection back,
Mhm.
like the full uh trios or the triplets of LSU back then, where they had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. That's all Cincinnati's missing is Justin Jefferson.
Well,
I think it,
it may happen.
I think Cincinnati would be the most dynamic offense in the NFL if they had
TJ, I think they can
in
win. I
recent
think,
news that Joe Mixon got in trouble
yeah,
with the law, but
I think they could win a Super Bowl the way they are now without Jefferson. If
yeah,
they get
I
him,
agree.
they become more dangerous. But yes, there's a connection there. And I've had that conversation with people and they ask me why. And I say, I listen, they're both great. And one's not better than the other. They both bring different
Yeah,
styles, right? And they're both great. I just
yeah,
like Joe Burrow. I'm just a big Joe Burrow fan. I wasn't an LSU guy, and I'm not a
yeah.
Cincinnati Bengal guy. I don't dislike Cincinnati, but I am a Joe Burrow fan. I am.
Yeah, I love Joe Burrow.
I
Like
do too.
the man predicted Texas's record after he beat them.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, they're good for a 7-5 team." At first, I was completely raged because he called us out like that. Like, hey, we barely lost to you guys. What are you talking about? And then, sure enough, we went 7-5, and I went, "Oh,
No, the guy knows
oh,
football. He knows football. He's been around it, and
yeah."
he's a talent, man. And Cincinnati was very lucky to have him. That guy has changed that franchise. Yeah, and he's
He's
gonna.
like a lifelong fan of the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't you know?
Isn't he? Is he's from Ohio? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
Mr. Ohio.
he's Mr. Ohio. Yeah,
Yeah, he went to Ohio State, his dream school, but they wouldn't play him, so he transferred over to
yeah,
LSU.
and then the rest is
Played for
history,
Coach
right?
O.
Yeah, the rest is
And
history. Yeah,
yeah,
I
I love Coach O, man. I love Coach O.
yeah, it's going to be good. And here your draft is coming up here in April. So yeah, I know you always get things going and ready for that.
Bijan.
You do the draft. Yeah, he could go top 10. I heard. So we'll see what happens, man. I mean,
I got Bijan going to the Eagles.
we'll see. We'll see. He's a good running back. So hopefully he gets paid his
Yeah.
money. Like others did. I mean, you put the work in, you deserve. So hopefully a team will take him. That needs that's it's usually going to be a team that's going to continue for a Super Bowl, right? Because running backs
Yeah.
don't last too long in the league. So if you're going to pay this guy big money, it's a team that needs a running back that's in contention for a Super Bowl. You don't want to get a bad team because by the
Yeah.
time you get good,
I don't
it's gone.
necessarily think the Eagles need a running back. I think they want a running back.
Well, it just
So
makes
that
them
way
more
they can
dangerous.
add
They're
on
just they're just more dangerous. So
because if you add Bijan Robinson with Kenneth Gainwell and what's the other Scott, Boston Scott. If you add Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Gainwell, and Scott in the mix, you're looking at a very dangerous offense with Jalen Hurts right
uh,
there, with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside.
Oh, they're going to be
And
dangerous.
then you
next
got
year.
Dallas Goddard at tight end. Nobody ever talks about him. He's a really good tight end too. He played under Zach Ertz for quite some time before Zach Ertz got traded to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So you're looking
No,
at a very dangerous offense if you get
It's
Bouye on.
Philadelphia is going to be they're going to be dangerous next year. TJ,
Yeah.
thank you very much, man. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time, man. We'll be back next week. We've got a talk one more 3A team, and then we'll jump over to the 2A. I believe there's one more 3A team. I got to take a look at it, but we're getting close to the 2A, which we will talk with Furio, Shiner. That's going to be another good district that we'll talk about. So we're almost done with the recap, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll hopefully start talking, get back and talk about some of these players around the Coastal Bend area, where they'll be playing the next level. And then we'll take another break. And then by then we'll be getting ready for the 7-on-7. So a lot still going
Yeah,
on.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, a lot going on the Gridiron, man. We're going to do a lot of things next year. We're going to be, like I said, live streaming some games. We're not going to do every week, but we're definitely going to start getting into the live streaming. So we're working on that. And then, of course, by April 1st, we will announce here on the Gridiron the 10 teams that we will add to our list to make it 47. So April 1st, TJ, will be the day that we will post it. I don't know what first day of the month of April will come on, but on our social media pages, we'll definitely put up the list of the 10 teams that will be added to the Gridiron 64 list. So it'll be our 37 Coastal Bend teams plus 10 more. So tune into that as that's coming in about a month as these guys bring in the list and we break it down to the 10 teams that we want to add to our Gridiron. So until then, next week we'll be back. Not sure on the day, so be paying attention. TJ, thank you very much, man. Enjoy the rest of your evening, man, and I'll be looking forward to your podcast on Thursday. So until then, man, peace out. Thank you for watching. The video will be uploaded here in about an hour. Until then, TJ, I'll see you next week, buddy.
I bid you adieu and goodbye. Good night. Bang.